You know what? Suppose a quantum box with a couple thousand logical, error-corrected qubits would fall from heaven today. It would be almost like in a Stone Age, right? Where you had people sit in a cave and then suddenly a spark was coming that lit up fire. And it was like, oh my god, what is this?
All right. So, Clemens from Boehringer Ingelheim, I'm so glad to have met you here at the Quantum Conference. Please tell our audience who you are, what you're doing, and what you are doing here at the conference.
All right, thank you very much for having me, Tarek. What am I doing at the conference? Well, I speak later about drug discovery, meeting quantum computing, right? Because that's obviously with chemistry at the core, potentially the first application where we see quantum really making a difference. It's still a decade out, and it's still way research to do, but this is sort of why we look there, right? And not look at optimization or other topics, but really look at kind of our core as well, which is chemistry around drug discovery.
And how long is Boehringer Ingelheim involved with quantum technology?
So, I mean, the ideas of quantum mechanics and quantum chemistry outside of quantum we use since quite a long time, right? Our computational chemistry folks use many methods, use AI, use machine learning, but really quantum computing, I would say roughly 3 years. 3 years ago, we funded the Quantum Lab. We tried to get the people, the researchers that would actually go onto that mission to make quantum useful for us. And now we are 3 years in the game. We published quite a bit on foundational work and also on application work. And that journey will continue to make eventually, hopefully, quantum fly for pharma.
And every time I talk to someone about quantum technology, pharma is always the first branch where people are talking, this will be applied. Why is it pharma? Why is pharma so closely connected to quantum technology?
So I guess it's not just pharma, but also material science, right? Because our world is molecules. Our world is actually a drug binding to a target, right? To an enzyme, to a protein. And here we see quantum mechanical effects. And if I believe in what Richard Feynman said, and he got his Nobel Prize for it, then really to model one quantum mechanical system with another is the most promising avenue and route. And that's the reason why I think everybody's looking at us. On the other side, it's not as easy as everybody thinks. It takes plenty of research to get there. On the obviously hardware side, which is the obvious one, but even more so on the algorithmic side. And that's what we focus on.
And how does this look in reality? I have never seen a quantum computer in real life. Is this more like a computer screen and all you do is develop software and graphs and everything, or do you actually have access to a real quantum computer?
So we do have access to real quantum computers with the little qubit count they have.
Yeah.
On the other side, our work is really going into algorithm development.
Yeah.
So a lot of math, a lot of physics. How can we actually phrase the problem that we are having in a quantum mechanical way? And then to really derive from that the circuit, see how errors would propagate, right? What do we need on gates? What type of gates do we need, right? And is this something with the amount of resources that we need where we can see any advantage? Because it's easy to hammer out an algorithm, but if it's either slower, more complex, less scalable than a classical world, then it doesn't buy us anything.
Yeah, right.
And so here's actually where the hard work goes in, right? It's lots and lots and lots of theoretical research. Because obviously, when you talk about fault tolerance, there is nothing we could even be close to using, right?
Yeah.
So here, it's really math. A hell lot of math, a hell lot of whiteboard work to then say, okay, this is the algorithm. Thanks God, a quantum computer behaves to math, so we know precisely how the thing will work, what a gate exposes on errors, how these errors will propagate through the various gates and blocks, and then truly hammer out the circuit and say, okay, this is what it is, this is the requirements we're having, and this is actually the resources we need for it.
So are you a physicist? Did you study quantum mechanics at university, or is it something that you discovered on the way?
So I had a love for physics since I was a child.
Yeah.
Then after my compulsory military, I went to university to start studying physics, but I think I was just not smart enough to finish it. So my world is innovation, is technology strategy, and actually engineering, really software engineering. But I think with my love and conviction, together with the team of actually researchers and scientists, we formed quite a good team to make it work. So it's all about diversity, I guess.
I personally am always astonished because whenever someone tries to explain to me how quantum entanglement works, I think they are crazy. This is like magic, this can't work. But obviously people are building machines around that.
Yes.
So obviously it is true.
Well, it's actually the spooky effects, as they were called, right? And it's at the very core of what we are using, right? If you look at what quantum phase estimation does and whatnot, all these bet on exactly those effects, right?
Yeah.
Inference and also entanglement. And here I think the key is to really understand this much, much better than we do today. also then, once the box is there, to get the heuristics out and see what that box is truly capable of.
Yeah.
Maybe there's other things that we don't know today about that we can really harness off that box rather than quote unquote just the gates and just the math it was built to.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Do we have a realistic estimation when we will actually have real-life application of quantum computers for real-life problems?
Jesus Christ. I think if I would have, maybe I wouldn't tell you. Because one part is actually the hardware work, right? And that's progressing. In many cases, it's still a physical problem to get this one logical qubit on something that you would then be able to scale to like 1,000, 2,000, 5,000. But, and then it's all about engineering, right? How do we really scale it up?
Yeah.
That's part one. And here I'm convinced that the next couple of years are pivotal to get us to something that actually does make sense also in an industrial context. But what I usually say is, you know what? Suppose a quantum box with a couple thousand logical error-corrected qubits would fall from heaven today.
Yeah.
It would be almost like in a Stone Age, right? Yeah. Where you had people sit in a cave and then suddenly a spark was coming that lit up fire. And it was like, oh my God, what is this? Because even having the box is still needing so much research on the algorithm side to make it then useful.
Yeah.
And this is sort of the unknown. And here's what we are researching into. Here's what we are investing into. Our job is not building a box. Our job is actually to make algorithms work in an industrial context. And industrial context is twofold. For one, it's obviously the quantum resource that we need, but more importantly, it's actually to be faster than a traditional experiment, or to be more accurate. It's always this trade-off, and this is where research needs to go. And here I can't predict. Obviously, my hope is by the end of the decade. But we'll see. Hopefully it's earlier. Like I think yesterday when we were invited at the NPL, and you could see literally this tree, right? The tree of being descendant of Newton's apple tree, and all the other famous guys that were teaching there and researching there. It's like, one time I would love to come back to celebrate actually the first drug that was benefited by quantum computer and all algorithms. I mean, that is what we work for every day. So yeah, if it's quicker than by the end of the decade, we'll be super happy, obviously.
Yeah. Exciting times.
Indeed.
So, thank you so much for your insights. I really appreciate it, and have a lot of more fun at the conference.
Thank you very much, Tarek, for having me.